The coffee cup shattered before anyone noticed the tension building, porcelain exploding across the sunlit floor like a warning that something ordinary was about to become unforgettable. In that bright cafe filled with soft music and the smell of roasted beans, one quiet single father made a choice that would change his life forever, even though at that moment he believed he had nothing left to lose. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unseen miracles, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel Kindness Touch, because stories like this remind us that simple goodness still matters in this world. Ethan Cross had learned how invisible a man could become. At 39, he carried exhaustion in his shoulders and responsibility in his eyes. His mornings were always rushed, shaped by school drop-offs, packed lunches, and the quiet promise he made every day to his 8-year-old son that life would somehow be okay. His wife had been gone for 3 years, taken suddenly by illness, leaving Ethan with grief that never fully healed and bills that never stopped arriving. That day, the coffee shop was not a luxury. It was a brief pause between 2 part-time jobs, a place where sunlight through tall windows made the world feel gentler for just a few minutes. The cafe was busy, alive with the sound of daytime conversations and laptops clicking, when a sharp voice cut through the calm. A man in an expensive suit stood near the counter, his irritation growing louder, his presence heavy and domineering. He leaned toward a woman who stood alone, her posture composed but her eyes clearly unsettled. She wore simple clothes, nothing flashy, her hair neatly tied back, and yet there was something about her stillness that suggested quiet strength. The man's anger escalated, his gestures exaggerated, drawing uncomfortable glances from others who quickly looked away. Ethan noticed because he had learned to notice pain. Loss had trained his senses. He watched the woman's hands tighten around her cup, watched the way the crowd pretended not to see. He told himself it was none of his business. He reminded himself he had a son to think about, rent due, energy he could not afford to waste. But then the man stepped closer, blocking her path, his voice rising, and something inside Ethan shifted. It was the same instinct that made him kneel beside his son at night when nightmares came, the instinct that said silence was sometimes cruelty. He stood up before he could reconsider. His heart pounded, not with bravery but fear, yet his feet carried him forward. He placed himself between the man and the woman, his voice steady despite the storm inside him, his presence calm but unyielding. He did not insult or threaten. He simply refused to move, refused to let intimidation win. The cafe seemed to hold its breath. The suited man scoffed, muttered something about minding one's own business, and eventually backed away, embarrassed by the attention he had drawn. When he left, the room exhaled, returning to its artificial calm. Ethan turned to the woman, nodded once, and returned to his table as if nothing extraordinary had happened. His hands trembled slightly as he picked up his cup. He did not wait for gratitude. He did not expect thanks. He had done what he would want someone to do for his child someday. That was enough. The woman watched him carefully from across the room. Her name was Serafina Vale, though no one there knew it. She was one of the wealthiest self-made billionaires in the region, a woman whose decisions moved markets and whose time was guarded fiercely. That morning, she had chosen to walk without security, craving anonymity, craving normalcy. She had not expected confrontation, and she certainly had not expected a stranger to step in without knowing who she was or what power she held. What struck her was not just what Ethan did, but how he disappeared afterward, returning to his quiet corner, as if courage were an everyday habit rather than a rare act. She observed the worn edges of his jacket, the careful way he checked his phone, the photograph of a young boy taped inside his wallet when he paid. She saw a man shaped by responsibility, not ambition. Later that afternoon, Life resumed its familiar weight for Ethan. He hurried to his second job, stacking shelves in a small neighborhood store, his back aching, his mind already planning dinner on a tight budget. He did not know that Serafina had asked discreet questions before leaving the cafe, learning his name, learning fragments of his story. She was not intrigued by him as a curiosity. She was moved by him as a reminder of something she had lost long ago, the belief that goodness could exist without expectation. Days passed, then weeks. Ethan's life continued its difficult rhythm until an unexpected email arrived, inviting him to an interview for a position he did not remember applying for. The company name meant nothing to him. He assumed it was a mistake, but curiosity and desperation pushed him to attend. The office building was modern, flooded with daylight, its walls of glass reflecting a future he never imagined stepping into. When he entered the conference room, recognition flickered. Serafina sat at the table, her presence calm and commanding, her expression warm with familiarity. She acknowledged him not as a benefactor but as an equal. She spoke about integrity, about leadership born from empathy, about how rare it was to find people who acted without calculation. She offered him a role that did not insult his intelligence or exploit his hardship, a role that came with stability, benefits, and the flexibility he needed as a father. Ethan was overwhelmed, suspicious of fortune arriving so suddenly. He questioned motives, worried about hidden expectations. But Serafina was transparent. She told him she had seen his character in the cafe. And character was something money could never buy. She did not frame it as charity. She framed it as opportunity. As months unfolded, Ethan grew into the role, discovering skills he never had the chance to develop. He learned quickly, guided by mentors who respected him. His son noticed the change first, the way laughter returned to their home, the way evenings were no longer filled with stress. Daytime walks to school replaced rushed drop-offs, and sunlight once again felt like a promise instead of a reminder of passing time. Serafina and Ethan crossed paths often, their conversations natural, unforced. She admired his devotion to fatherhood, his refusal to let bitterness define him. He admired her humility, the way she listened more than she spoke, the way she used her power quietly. What began as respect slowly deepened into something neither rushed nor denied. It was built in shared values, in mutual understanding, in the recognition that both had been lonely in different ways. Yet the greatest change was not wealth or romance. It was the restoration of dignity. Ethan no longer felt invisible. He no longer believed his best days were behind him. He understood that one moment of courage, one decision to protect a stranger, could ripple outward in ways impossible to predict. As the story reached its quiet resolution, the image that lingered was not of boardrooms or success, but of a bright afternoon months later. Ethan sitting in that same coffee shop, sunlight warming the table, his son beside him laughing, and Serafina across from them, not as a billionaire, but as a woman who had seen kindness and chosen to honor it. If this story touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that kindness still has power in this world, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and stay connected with Kindness Touch for more stories that heal. Before the ending, we have one special request for you. Comment below what you believe is the true reward of kindness, because your words may inspire someone reading them today. In the end, Ethan never defended a billionaire. He defended a human being, and in doing so, he unknowingly defended his own future, proving that sometimes the smallest brave acts, done in broad daylight by ordinary people, shine the brightest and change lives forever.